You remember the feeling, don't you? The feeling that you're being watched, that if you make the slightest movement, you're dead. Everyone had that fear as a child. You wake up in the night and can't get back to sleep, shuffling back and forth from one uncomfortable position to the next, hoping to find a way to sudden slumber. You give up. There's no way you're going back to sleep at any time soon, so you simply turn to your side and stare out the window. The road, the lights, the trees, they all seem so strange under the cover of night. You try to keep your mind quiet of any distractions, remembering that you still need to sleep, and that's when the feeling hits you. The feeling swarms over you like an ice cold blanket that has just been spread across your back. You remember that it's night, and that night is when fear likes to hunt. You feel almost if you're being watched from behind you. You can't see it, but its eyes are trained on you. You want to move, but you can't. If you do, something bad, no, something horribly wrong is going to happen to you. The only thing you can do is remain quiet and still, and then it won't notice you. As you lie on your bed, frozen in fear, you begin to think about your bed sheets. If only you could quickly grab your bed sheets and throw them over yourself, to hide your body from whatever evil monstrosity stands behind you. It could be done, perhaps, if you're fast and precise, you could succeed. You decide to think no longer. You flip yourself up and grab your bed sheets with both hands. Without looking around the room, you swipe back down, covering yourself with a thick blanket. Safety. It's then that your mind comes back to you, and you remind yourself that there is nothing there. Darkness clouds in the mind and causes it to hallucinate, with the only limitations being your imagination. You slowly poke your head out of the sheets and scan your eyes around the room. Nothing. You place your head back on the pillow and slowly drift off to sleep. This is every child's fear, and parents always tell their children to go back to sleep, and that it's good for them to work through their fears. They're wrong, because what they don't know is when the children hide under their bed sheets, the real fear is not what's standing over them, but what's staring at them from underneath the covers. You've never liked the silence, ever. At first you thought it was something you were scared of, for no reason. But as you grew older, you realised there was a reason. There had always been a reason. You've always slept with your creaky ceiling fan running, no matter how cold it was. You'd take extra blankets, you'd shiver, but you'd never switch the creaky thing off, because you knew how much you dreaded the silence. Because you know, once it was silent, you'd hear them. At first, it had started out as soft hissing noises. You'd ignored it, but then you'd realise that it sounded like someone was whispering something. To you, it took you time to decipher them. You finally did, and you'd never forget what they said. They told you about the underworld, hell, the place where everyone went once they died. There was no heaven, there was only hell. They told you about the creatures there, how every monster you'd ever feared was real. They told you terrible things. Then they told you how your grandfather's soul was inching closer to hell, to death. You remember being at your grandpa's funeral the very next day, shaking, more out of fear than grief. They were real. It was real. Since then, you've never allowed the silence to envelope you while you slept. You're scared you'll hear them. The things they spoke about still give you nightmares. You've never slept in complete darkness either, because that's when you see them. I was in my bedroom, doing the typical at-home teenager thing. Staying up late, digging around the depths of the internet and generally not paying attention to anything other than what was on my monitor. It was the early morning, around 2 o'clock, and everyone in my house was asleep but me. The room was nice and warm despite it being the dead of winter, since we had the windows replaced last week. We'd been losing heat, especially in my bedroom, through some old storm windows, but now the bitter cold was kept outside. I don't remember what I was doing. I think, in the terror that consumed me, I must have forgotten. I heard a noise at my window. Not the sound of a bug flying into it, or shrubs brushing against it, no. This was an odd noise. A thumping sound. Something I'd never heard before. I didn't think anything of it, initially. Whether that was because I genuinely believed it was nothing or because I didn't want to find out what it was, I can't say. But I sat there for a moment and just listened to it. It was distinctly rhythmic. Thump, thump, thump. It only lasted 15 seconds or so and then stopped. I shuddered but shrugged it off, and then, after spending another hour or so browsing, and consciously not looking towards the window, I turned off my computer and fell into an uneasy but uneventful sleep. This morning, after the sun had been up for a few hours, and the things that go bump in the night were doing whatever they do during the daylight hours, I walked to my window and spent a few minutes trying to replicate the sound I had heard. I tapped the window, bumped it with some soft objects, even locked and unlocked it, but for the life of me I couldn't figure out what had made the sound. Nothing I did was even close. I figured that the event had been a fluke, and the day was normal until this evening. My dad arrived home from work at the usual time and decided the house was too stuffy, so he came into my room to open the window. We're in Texas, so winter evenings are sometimes very comfortable, as was the case today. But never in my life before that moment had I genuinely wished to be deaf. My dad forgot to unlock the window before trying to open it, and when he pulled it up, it produced the same noise as I heard last night. My window only has handles on the inside. Alright guys, thanks for watching the video. I hope you enjoyed it, and also thanks for all the lovely comments. They really mean a lot, and I don't know, there's something about just logging on and seeing all the nice stuff. It really cheers you up. So thank you very much for that, and I hopefully see you in the next video. Okay, bye.